Welcome and good evening, everybody. Once again, it's me, your one and only, the Rufilio Taurilius. We are back with another episode of D&D PvP Moon Silver Arena. My counterpart from your side of the fourth wall has a word for you at the end of this video. But for now, and with no further delay or ado, let's jump right to. On our right, this mighty specimen of muscle mass, half-orc, is a rabidly radical paladin of Tyr, nearly frothing at the mouth in fanatical fervor, named Carrick Ironvow. Armored in chainmail and sporting a shield bearing Tyr's sigil for a solid first level armor class of 18, protecting his 13 hit points. And no dueling paladin's man's hands would be complete without a longsword, which he swings with a 19 strength, giving him a total attack bonus of +6. Not bad, not bad. Certainly nothing to shake a stick at. But is it good enough to shake a sword with? Well, let's find out. Hey, don't look at me like that. I was joking. Relax. Carrick, it's the highest reasonable attack bonus at level 1 in this tournament. Your +6 bonus is more than enough to get the job done. Sheesh. He's so sensitive about the size of his attack bonus. It's on the larger side of average. Now, a +8, that's stretching it a little. Anyways, over here we have Jake, a young man who claims to have died and traversed other realms before this one. Apparently, being a human gunslinger is good no matter where you go. Sporting studded leather armor, flavored as a cowboy hat, a leather duster, and boots, for an 17 AC protecting 13 hit points. Oddly enough, the two have a great deal in common. You're right, they do. Both have a D10 for their hit die for 13 hit points, and 18 dex for Jake, like Carrick, granting a +4 bonus on his lead ability. Both possess healing abilities, Action Surge for the fighter, and Lay on Hands for the half-orc, and then a 17 and 18 AC respectively. Refilio, with all this in common, the fight sounds like a real snooze fest. I hear where you're coming from, and it really does sound like each round will be different flavors of the same thing, like different colors of the same dress. If the first one didn't fit, why bother with the other, right? But there are differences, potentially game deciding factors, of which, as human variant, Jake possesses Sharpshooter as his bonus feat, allowing him to take a -5 to his attack rolls for a +10 in damage. This is death, brewed, bottled, and delivered right to the doorstep of any first level character. Throw in Unearthed Arcana's close quarter shooter for his first level fighter's fighting style, and this is big right here. Not only does it add a +1 on range attacks, not only do you ignore half and 3/4 cover on targets within 30 feet, but this allows ranged attacks made within melee to be rolled normally. That means no disadvantage. Last but not least, the kid spent burden on 150 gold to buy another pistol. So that's not just one, but two of these potentially devastating, unstoppable attacks that can be made each round. Those are some pretty hefty advantages. They really, really are. But it's not all doom and gloom for Carrick, Refilio. Let's talk about what he has going for him. Okay, I'm listening. Humans don't have dark vision. Orcs do. Now, some of the maps are in darkness, several in fact, and all the players are limited to 170 degrees of vision, what is right in front of them. So he'd have to spend an action, his first action, to light a torch, and he uses one of his hands to hold the torch. If the map is dark, making the most out of that limitation is going to be Carrick's best play. So, to summarize, most things considered, they're about equal. 17, 18 ACs, 13 hit points each, an attack bonus of +7 for Jake and +6 for Carrick. I'd go as far as saying that Jake's feats give him a slight edge over Carrick's dark vision. Sounds like a good fight after all, though. I agree. Well, while we've been yapping, these two seem to have really hit it off. Let's hear what they have to say to each other.
He's kind of dressed like if you've ever watched The Walking Dead, like Carl. Coral. Carl. So
Uh-huh.
it's a 10-year-old cowboy. I think he's 5'4", because he's literally like years old, and he looks up at you and goes, uh,
Hello,
"Wow."
small human child. How are you? I believe we've been pitted to fight each other, and I feel quite. I don't know how my god would feel about that. Doesn't seem very just that I am your
Just,
enemy.
oh. Wait, wait, wait. Which god of the many?
The holy
Do I?
tier, of course. The just one. The even-handed.
Oh, I don't know who the fuck
Whack!
it is. But even-handed sounds good. Um, may I ask your name,
I'm Carrick. It's
sir?
nice to meet you.
I am Jake Chambers of New York. And then he scooches open his duster jacket, and you see, haha, two pistols.
Jake,
Or, yeah,
before combat, do you mind if I say a prayer?
Jake will give Carrick time to cast this spell.
It
You
is no
know,
spell, I'd just like to say a prayer to my god.
ah, then yes.
My children, Moonsilver's call shall be denied no longer. It is time for you to place your hands within the effigy and be off. Shut up, you ain't my dad. All right, let's get to it.
Carrick, take your prayer. I will not move.
You hear him shout back, Great Tear, hand of justice, guide my blade, steady my heart. Let my strikes be righteous and my purpose unwavering, even when the cost is great. By your name and in your service, I swear to bring balance to the scales. Thank you, Jake! We may begin.
What honor to give a man prayer before battle. And what a powerful prayer that was Carrick gave to Tyr. And with such a servant, Tyr should be proud, proud and pleased. But now that the prayer is over, it looks like the battle has begun, with Jake taking his first tentative steps forward, unsure in this new place and new time. Meanwhile, Carrick is done looking around and ready to make his move. He quickly moves towards the sound of Jake's voice as it echoes off the walls around him. Darkness crowding around him from beyond the effigy's faint glow. Jake lights a torch and begins searching the alien landscape around him, searching for any sign of his foe. His torch shining weakly against the silken black backdrop of this wretched night, Jake calls out.
Carrick, we're well met on the path.
His voice wavers, sounding weak, as if the darkness around him ate his words as it did his light. Carrick strains his ears to hear the half-hearted call that echoes lightly off the sides of the deserted market's stone walls, his half-orc eyes piercing the darkness, searching for the voice's owner before calling back.
What do you mean on the path? The path to justice?
Carrick's strong, clear voice echoes off the cavern market's walls. His initial excitement met immediately with the pang of regret that a voice so full of righteousness, from one so committed to justice, must be his foe. Unable to pinpoint the voice's direction as the sound bounces through the market cavern, Jake calls back.
Carrick,
So let me pull this
I
back
do
up.
not want I do not want to do this, but since we have to, should we meet on even ground, sir? And I promised you, and I'll set my watch and warrant on it, that I will give you mercy as soon as I am able.
An even ground, fair fight? Seems Tears may speak to you a little bit as well. I'm inclined to agree. I shall sheath my blade and meet you on the path, if you're so inclined.
Jake yells back that he is holstering his pistols. Unable to determine from where Jake's echoing voice calls from, the two agree for Jake to make his way south until Carrick can see him. Though he did not know the half-orc, Jake trusted the sincerity he heard in his voice, for the voice spoke more than its words, promising refuge to the persecutor, protection to the weak, and bread to the hungry. So in this way, the voice was a light, a beacon of sanctuary in a dark world. But within that light lay a hard, sharp edge, an edge that promised another thing entirely. To the corrupt, the deceiver, the murderer and ravisher, It spoke of a single absolute justice. In the shadow they served, he spoke light in their darkness undone. More than trust this voice, Jake respected it. It was unfortunate that so fine a fellow was chosen to face him today, for those who Jake faced fell.
No more
Jake,
coming back. Yeah, Carrick.
can you see me? I'm unsure how your eyes work in this dim light.
Knowing the human eye could not match an orc's in divining light from the darkness, he had lit a torch to announce himself to the young man, and when finally he had entered his field of view, Carrick approached solemnly, tossing the torch between them. Though he knew one soul was recycled through Moonsilver, he had severe misgivings about battling a man young enough to be called a boy. Striving for fairness at every opportunity, he provided a light to free up the boy's hands. Maybe in this way, the boy stood a chance in their battle. An almost sad smile tugs at the corner of Jake's mouth. He lamented fate's cruelty a final time as he slowly pushed his leather duster back from the walnut grips of deadly ironworks they'd concealed. The act was enough to set his heart racing, his adrenaline pumping. A terrible twinkle of battle thrill gleamed in his eyes. That's funny. I was about to ask you the same thing.
And then whoosh, the two pistols come out. There will be water, if God wills it.
And with those words, the battle has begun, as Carrot crouches into a battle stance, his massive muscles bulging and tense, ready for action. Cool, calm, and collected, Jake finds orc flesh in his sights before pulling the trigger. The sharpest shooter, he breathes. Unsure what this was, the boy leveled at him, but taking no chances, Carrick raised his shield just as a thunderous boom and the flash of muzzle fire erupted from the metallic objects in each of the boy's hands, followed by two high-pitched pings as they slammed into and reverberated through his shield. Cursing under his breath, Jake runs across the street, searching for some vantage point to place between himself and the now charging mass of muscle and violence. Carrick storms across the battlefield, quickly closing the distance between the two, but stops short as Jake raises the metalworks of fire and thunder. As powerful as his legs were, they would never reach the boy before he pulled the curved metal against itself and released the thunder. No, he would hang here. With the boy's back against the wall, any movement Jake made would bring him within striking distance. All of that Carrick reasoned within the instance it took Jake to level the revolver and sight his target, this time compensating for the shield. Again, to himself and barely above a whisper, he breathed, "The sharpest shooter." Again, thunder rang out, its boom still echoing off the cavern's walls when joined by its twin. With nowhere to go, the sound slammed into one wall, was thrown away to slam into another before being sent careening into the first, so it sounded as if a whole host of people stood across from the other, the two summoning endless thunder. What a tragic world that would be, were such a thing possible, Carrick thought to himself. Again Carrick launched himself toward the boy, and was shocked to find pain in his upper arm, near the pit where the small gap in his armor lay. With no time to examine it, he wondered what magic he was to suffer. Whatever the result, the affected area burned and throbbed with pain with each jolting stride he took towards the boy, and could feel the thick damp of blood as he reached his target, and raised his sword, the wound denying him the full extent of his power. He feinted several crisscrossing slashes, the last carving a shallow gash through Jake's leather armor, drawing a red line across his chest. Thinking to apply pressure or strike within a moment of attention slipped and aiming, the Paladin of Tyr loomed menacingly over the boy. But it seems, despite his youth, Jake has had some experience with close quarter shooting, and fires twice in rapid succession. But up close, Carrot could see the small black holes at the end of the strange metal wand Jake summons the thunder from, and at the last moment correctly tracks the angle those holes were aimed along, bringing his shield between his face and neck and the two violent dings as they didn't lodge into his shield. Understanding finally the nature of the force being aimed at him, and feeling faint from the wound that wept a river of his blood, Carrick realizes another encounter with this strange thunder would prove fatal. though he beseeches Tyr's holy healing. For this purpose Carrick kept his body pure, so that it may act as an acceptable medium through which Tyr's divine glory could flow, smiting unholy perversions of nature or healing the just and the good. Usually this power would be channeled through him and into another at the touch of his hand, but to heal himself he need only direct it through his body. Instantly he could feel the movement of something being pushed from his body and the wound close behind it, his cheeks flushing with the vigor of new blood springing into existence within him and traveling along its path as if that had always been the case. Feeling rejuvenated, he whispered a silent "thank you" to Tyr and met the boy's determined gaze. The child had proved himself a man, a warrior, a worthy adversary after all. Tracking the barrel's aim, he nearly batted from the man, he corrected himself, the man's hand, and brought his sword even with his jaw. The young man had earned a warrior's death, and with his strength restored and behind this swing, there was nothing Jake could do. It was over. Except it wasn't. The thunder roared, and he felt his strength fail him as fire arced through his guts. "No!" he growled aloud. "I refuse to die!" he growled to himself. It was said of his people's most fiercest of warriors that they possessed "tu rest gasa," or a relentless endurance, a gift of their people's creator, Grumpsh, the mad god, allowing the orc to deny mortality itself in pursuit of defeating a foe. A strange feeling as his body spilled out of a gaping hole in his midsection, and he wondered if that was wind he felt blowing over his intestines. Then he realized they were underground somewhere. There was no wind, and the boy, the man, Jake, was saying something. What was he saying?
Carrick, do you give up or should I again? The gun's well. I guess the one gun that I haven't shot yet this turn cocks and is right on him. You can give up, and it wouldn't be shameful. I'd rather not. But
The day I swore my oath to Tyr, I said I would
bang,
never give up.
bang, bang, right in the middle of his speech, and that's
Okay,
fine.
roll. He never even heard the thunder, just the wheeling, disjointed feeling and shining flashes of his consciousness passing through Moonsilver, and then the dark of sleep. Sleep, not death. And death you do not feel the pillow beneath your head.